Hey, Ben, I think you're muted. And roll on too.
Take two. Let's try this again. Welcome to episode 168 of About the Cards podcast. You heard that this time, right?
Yes.
All right. We're live tonight on YouTube, as always, with host Stefan Loeffler at Junkwax Twins.
Oh, hi.
Myself, Ben Wilson, at Our Trading Cards. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors, and we hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting. We are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific.
10 Central.
10 Central. Added to the show notes for you on YouTube. That's right. Facebook Live, Twitch. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. We're available as a podcast everywhere you can find one. You can check out our website, aboutthecards.wordpress.com. As you'll notice, we have a special guest host tonight. You can welcome Gerald New at gnew_cards. How are you, my friend?
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. This is an awesome podcast. You guys have great topics, great guests, and I'm just thrilled to be here. It's so fun listening to you guys. So I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you start collecting cards, and what do you PC?
Sure. As you can tell, I'm a little on the older side, so I went through all the junk wax years that I probably started in. I know I started in '78. I was 7 at the time, so just parents giving you cards and have no idea really what they're about. And then for some reason, looking back at my collection, I've got a gap that I didn't do anything for the next 3 or 4 years until '83 hit, and I'm playing baseball, and I love baseball. Obviously, I love sports, and '83 comes along, and I discover these cards, and I'm like, this is really cool. And I just get tons of '83 cards and just trade with my buddies and play with them. And so I know that set extremely well. It's probably my favorite set. And then at that point, just go through all the '80s years, and then at some point you become an adult, and I faded away from the hobby, and many years later, a little bit before it all went crazy, say at the beginning of the pandemic, I got back into it maybe a year before that, and it's like, yeah, this is still cool. I mean, even as old as I am, this is really neat, and I like to. I'm not much of a seller. I've probably sold 50 cards in my life, something like that. So I just have random boxes all over the room, and just and I just kind of and the PC is really interesting because everybody has their guys. I'm Iverson, Stahlback, various few guys that I like. But I really just like going after the guys that I missed. Like I'm a big NBA guy, so I'll go back to the '90s and hit all the guys that I missed, all the Steve Nashes and the Kevin Garnetts, all those guys that I just didn't even weren't around for. I wish I had been, because I'd probably have LeBrons and different things like that. So it's just kind of fun to go back and get any Hall of Fame player and go back and try to get their rookie and sit it on the wall and maybe eventually sell it. I've got a son that is a teenager that might get into it a little bit at some point. So it's kind of me in a nutshell. It's I've got my teams: Braves, Cardinals, Cowboys, things like that. But I just kind of I respect players. As far as any major career that's lasted a long time, a Hall of Fame type career, I'd like to get a card for his. So that's kind of what way I do it.
Baseball's, we've mentioned this before. It's a unique sport because you can literally hate a team and still collect players of that. Again, I'm not a Yankees fan. I hate the Yankees, but walk down my hallway and you'll see Mantle, you'll see, Gehrig and Ruth. As a lifelong Raiders fan, you won't see any Elway. You won't see Mahomes. Sorry. As a lifelong Spurs fan, no Cowboys, Rockets, Lakers, Celtics. It's just baseball's just such a different sport, and it's probably because it was ingrained in us such a young age, Little League and whatnot. You can seriously dislike a team, but still collect and love. I've become a real big Aaron Judge fan recently. I'm not going to collect him because finances are what they are. It can only be stretched so far, but. The more I learn about Aaron Judge, he's just a really good human being. And so you have an interesting project that you reached out to me one time and said, "Hey, I'd love to come on the show and talk to you about this." It's a top 15 all-time cards, which again, subjective. But tell us a little bit about the project and how that got started and where you're at with that.
Yeah, so we post things on Twitter, all of us, and we talk and discuss and argue, and some people take things too seriously and such. So I said I like the history of it, just like you were talking about. Baseball is super interesting as far as the stats can go from the 50 stats can kind of relate to today's stats. That's kind of a unique situation with baseball. So anyway, I started putting together a top 15 iconic lists and just started going through the cards, and iconic is a strange word. Yeah, it's a recognizable. It's not necessarily value. It's influential. It's maybe a card led to something else, or was at the peak of certain time. So I just started I threw together a list, and then people started, what are you, crazy? You forgot about this. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. I probably am wrong with that. So I just kind of moved stuff up and down and played with it, and got everybody's opinion, and just started that would be really cool to have all these cards in a picture. So I said, well, there's no way I'm getting a mantle. We all know the mantle's at or near the top, and no way I'm getting the Wagner. But those are two of the top for sure. But you can go on eBay and get a $2 reprint and just at least take a picture of it, which I'm not a big fan of reprints or counterfeits or however you want to describe it. But I was like, well, it won't hurt just to have it for a picture. So anyway, it's a fun list to argue over. I've got almost all the cards here. I'm missing a couple, but the top three are the top three in my opinion, and seemingly most everybody's opinion. You've got the reprint of the Wagner and the mantle. I got a story about, I had a Jordan, and I don't have it in my possession. That's another story, maybe for later in the show. But the '86 Flair Jordan, the red, white, and blue, I made a case to Ben that it had passed the mantle as far as the most iconic card, based on the last 20 years of maybe 30 years now of Jordan, and how influential and how important his career and the documentaries and all the things that go along with him has been, that they actually passed. He said it was crazy, the usual thing, and he's probably right. The mantle is probably the answer because it's been in movies, it's been in more magazines through the years. But Jordan, that red, white Jordan is everywhere now, and for the last 10 years it has been. So, in my opinion, it had passed it, but it's splitting hairs, really, the top three. And some people say it's got to be the Wagner. Okay, that's a reasonable argument as well, and I don't think you can go wrong there as well. So, the top three are the top three. What's your opinion on these?
I mean, I would argue that those are probably the top three for their respective eras: pre-war, post-war, modern. I mean, you can make an argument 51 Bowman, sure, or Walter Johnson, or some of those others from T206. But I mean, unless you're going sport by sport, Gretzky or Jordan or whomever, that's a pretty solid top three. I don't think you'd find too many arguments. See, of course, Ben's about to talk, so there's going to be an argument. But
no, I think Gerald and I became Twitter friends originally because of this debate. It was one of our first interactions with one another, discussing, debating, arguing about. For me, it's the Wagner and the mantle. Those are 1 and 2 as the most iconic. They can be interchangeable. I'd probably lean towards mantle only because of, as you said, it's been in so many movies and media, print media. Jordan can be top 5 right there along with them if we're sticking to all cards. Mm-hmm. But for me, if we just cut the image out of the card and put it like in a police lineup with other images, that's how I would look at it. If you took the Gretzky rookie card, for instance, and put 5 other Gretzky images of that era and asked the average collector what image was featured on the Gretzky rookie card, I don't think you'll have as many people. Everybody's going to get the mantle. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to get the Wagner. Perhaps over the last few years, everybody's getting the '89 Upper Deck Griffey image. There's so many that I think would trump the Gretzky, and maybe that's just because hockey is a distant fourth, and maybe it's pushing forward. But that's how I define iconic: is close your eyes, can you recognize it as a card collector without it sitting in front of you? Of course, we're going to know what the difference is between the 52 and 53 Manels if they're sitting in front of us. You can identify it because you also recognize the card design. But it's a great debate. And again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. A lot of this is subjective. What's the most iconic to you? Depends on what you collect. Steph's going to put the Gretzky a hell of a lot higher than I will because he's a cocky guy. I'm not. And I might fail that, honestly. If you put 6 Gretzkys in front of me and they're close enough images, I might get it wrong. So what is your top 15?
Sure.
So we can argue now.
Right, and the funny thing is, it gets more interesting as the list goes down the line, really, because then it's like everybody wants to talk about the top, but really, like, wow, these last 5, that where you really get the argument going. So, number 4 is without question. Well, not without question. I'm not gonna say that, but the poll was this is the '89 set, the Upper Deck. So that Griffey is. Everybody had that as the next level. Like, it was the card right behind the top 3. So I think it's somewhat recognized as a number 4 card. It's so important as far as the junk wax era. It's so influential.
Number 3 was, now is this multi-sport or just baseball?
It's everything. It's
okay.
I just said, yeah, top 15 all eras, all sports. I do have the Gretzky on the list, so that's it's all sports.
So just so we're clear, you had the Mantle, Wagner, and Jordan as the top 3.
Right.
Okay, Griffey comes in at 4.
Griffey comes in 4. Number 5 would be Ryan Koosman. So Nolan Ryan is, it's maybe a top 15, top 20 pitcher, however you want to rank it. But the thing about that card is that when the junk wax era was at its peak, he was doing unbelievable things in his early 40s. For whatever reason, nutrition or whatever, he was big into that, and his career lasted. Those last 5 years were somewhat iconic, and that card was the first boom card. It took off to $4,000 or $5,000, I believe, at one point. It was a super expensive card, and like, do you have a Ryan? Do you have a Ryan? That was what everybody was looking for at the shows. There's been certain boom cards that just kind of took off, and that was kind of the main one. We're talking about, I don't know, 88, 89, somewhere in there, maybe even right before the Griffey hit. So that was a really, really important card at a really important time for the hobby. And jump in anytime you want to. Number 6 to me is the Henderson. The 80 Henderson is a iconic card, not only for his career. We had some. He's got some unbreakable records, amazing stats, really, for leadoff hitter. But the 1980 design was just a classic design, just incredible design. I've got some glare here, sorry. He's got the perfect signature. He's got the perfect batting stance, the crazy batting stance that he had. It's just an amazing card, and it was also got really, really high toward the end of his career when he was breaking that stolen base record. It had kind of peaked up. I don't remember what the numbers were, but it really went. It was kind of booming as well. So it's a very recognizable card. Anybody who's in the hobby at all for any length of time has seen it. Not super expensive. You can go get one. It's these cards aren't that high, but that iconic means something different than just dollars. It can mean dollars, but it doesn't have to be.
So I got a fun tidbit to tag on for Ricky. Friend of ours locally here. He has a bat going of all of the Hall of Famers. He's had it for 10, 20, 30 years. And he looks forward to the Hall of Fame inductions to try to add new people to his bat. And when it came time for Ricky to get inducted, he hands Ricky the bat. And Ricky goes, with his fingers, measures up against the bat and signs in the space that he'd measured out. Like, he knew exactly how long his finger would be. So he was flipping through it, looking to try to find, where he wanted to who he wanted to put himself next to. And then he just picks his spot, places his fingers on the bat, and signs.
That's awesome.
That was a great story to hear.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then he said, because it was right after his induction, that it was the first time he'd wrote HOF, whatever year.
Nice.
And it dropped.
Nice. Amazing player. Next on the list, I've got the Koufax, the 55 Koufax. There's this card is kind of a representation of the 50s. There's a lot of vintage cards that you could go with. That's pretty iconic. Aaron's got one. Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, certainly. And this is one that kind of, for whatever reason, is used a lot in magazines, a lot in price guides. That image is very recognizable. An amazing career, a short, amazing career. But it's for whatever reason, this card has really gained. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's super recognizable and iconic through the 50s. So
And it's pretty appropriate with the Jewish holiday today to feature Koufax.
Absolutely. Next on the list, and then it starts to get interesting. I'm not a huge fan of Mr. LeBron, but his jersey card is pretty iconic. It's fairly modern.
Two or three, I think.
Right. I'm not a huge fan of having modern cards on this list, but I think modern is important, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, how things have taken off. But you've got to have some modern representation on a top 15 list. Jordan or LeBron is, LeBron is definitely, and I think he's got cards that are definitely worth more. But this jersey card was one that's just, wow, yeah, I've seen that a lot. That is around a ton. So. Now it gets really of all the 15. Everybody I had a reason for everything, and on Twitter everybody was like, "Okay, that makes sense." But this card, I by far got the most heat on. It wasn't even close. It was, and I had a reason for it. After I explained it, they were like, "Okay, I'll let you slide on that." And that is the Skybox Jordan. Okay, this is it's more of a set representation of what they did with the set. Basically, this was the first set that they started with some graphic design, some changes, some what can we do with the background? What can we, a little flair. You look at it now and it's like, wow, that's so dated, so old looking. It's somewhat like looking at an old TV show or something. But strangely enough, this set is very iconic, and this image is very iconic because this card and this set paved the way for a lot of things that happened after that. A lot of different graphic designs that came on, and all the parallels that we see now. This was the start of that. It's like, well, what can we do different with cards, and what can we, jazz them up a little bit? So I believe that was number 9. Then,
if I'm not mistaken, he's golfing on the back of that, right?
That's right. That is correct.
One for somebody that plays basketball.
My favorite singer of all time is Sam Cooke, and I have a shrine in my house to Sam. And unfortunately, his life ended very prematurely in his early 30s in 1964. And I've gotten into music conversations, and a lot of people are like, Sam Cooke wouldn't rank here or there, and it's like, much like your point about that Jordan, the amount of artists that came after Sam Cooke that said he was the guy for me. And then, of course, that tree continues to grow. Those branches from each of those artists continue on down to the fact that there are so many modern artists that can link their influence back 5, 6, 7 generations back into the mid 60s of Sam Cooke. Same kind of a thing, that it's not, the card represents a moment in time. So the card itself may not be as iconic as what it spurned. Just like, again, we'll go back to the 89 Griffey. It not only was the kid and it's number 1 of a brand new series, it's just like, yeah, that's part of it. It could be Andy Pafko from the 52 Tops, and why it's so valuable was it was the first card in the first flagship set. And so the Pafko is iconic within the vintage collecting realm because it's hard to find one in good condition. And it's because it was the first. And so I would probably argue to leave that off the top 15, but your reasoning makes sense. So what comes after?
So at this point, I've got another reprint, which, as we said, I'm not a fan of, but and I will get this card at some point. It's the Jordan. I'm not. Why am I got Jordan? It's the Bird Magic Dr. J 3 card, perforated card. This is a chrome reprint, and this card is iconic for, obviously the images and the players and a moment in time in basketball when the NBA was completely struggling. It was there was it's hard to even imagine that a league could have financial troubles. But once those guys hit the lottery, hit the draft, and they were in the league, everything changed. And that
Sure.
card was at the moment, at the time, it probably wasn't that big a deal. I didn't collect any basketball cards back in the day at that time when I was a kid, so I really don't know. But I don't imagine it was super exciting. But over time, that has become just a real iconic image to have those 3 guys on one card, and 2 of them be the rookie of those players. So, all right.
What you got next?
Moving along, and another Heat card, much like the Nolan Ryan boom card, Ricky Henderson boom card during the times. Okay, what card started the boom for this last 2-3 year run? What was the one that really said, "Wow, I can go up, 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 up"? And in my opinion, it was this Luka. Now, this is the red, white, and blue variation of it, but Luka, and again, I don't like having this modern card in here because it's not. I wouldn't say this is recognizable for generations or for years or for decades or anything like that. But it's important because it literally launched. Say, wow, cards can go to the sky, and this is one. He had at just the right time. His rookie year and his career came right at the start of all this craziness over the last 2 or 3 years. It was like, wow, like everybody's gonna have a Luka, and I went to a show early on when I was getting back into it, and I was like, I could not believe my eyes how much this card, like that card just came out, and well, I was shocked. So that's definitely one that could be argued that could be totally a number 100 card, but in my opinion, that it's influential for that reason, for the first boom card, and it might go down as that, and eventually all these cards might come crashing back down. That's a whole nother discussion, but that is an important card for the modern era.
That's fair, and it certainly is. I mean, I was dealing with a sale issue with actually that card earlier today. PSA had flubbed the labeling and forgot to label it as a silver on the slip. And of course, the person who bought it wanted to keep it, and the person who sold it realized afterwards, like, hey, that should be like 4 times the price I priced it at. Can I have it back? Thanks, PSA.
Wow. Now to step.
Yeah, just real quick, if you broke the hobby down into 5-year increments, starting in 1950, run through 50, 54, 55, obviously, the mantle, you go every 5 years, and you get into this window of 2016 through 2020. Outside of the Luka, what else would you have? The Tatis Bowman? You have
for a short time, maybe 17 Judge.
Yeah, I was going to say Judge, perhaps. So the Luka is going to define that 5-year window. And again, it's arbitrary where you put the goalposts if you just stuck into even numbers.
Sure.
Going 1 through 5 and 6 through 0. But yeah, I mean, 2011 Trout would be that. What the Verlander or Kershaw would be the previous one. You'd have Pujols and Ichiro the previous. And so, yeah, I mean, 20 years from now, we might put that Luka up against quite a few of the other iconic cards. So maybe it hasn't reached that merit yet, but it's on the fast track because it really does define this new quote unquote investing, speculative gambling era that we find ourselves in. And, it's definitely an iconic card that defines this. And I'm sure, you'd have some Steph Curry cards in there, Pat Mahomes cards now as well.
Yeah.
So, what rounds out our list here? I know you have a couple
Okay,
more.
well, to Steph's pleasure, we're going with the Gretzky, another reprint as well. This is the image that Ben was talking about. And I'm not a hockey guy at all, and so I find it Gretzky is one of the there's much debate about the greatest of all time in different sports. And hockey, in fact, you're a hockey guy, you can chime in. Isn't it somewhat a foregone conclusion that he is the guy? Like there's not much debate. Steph, would you say?
I mean, you can make a 1A, 1B with like Gordie Howe or maybe Rocket Richard, but yeah, no, essentially, easily
Yeah.
1A, 1B, 1C.
Well, I would probably say
Maybe Yager, maybe, you could throw in some guys, but it's clearly Wayne and then other people. I mean, when
that's
him
like
and his brother hold the all-time record for goals and points for brothers, and his brother scored like 3. When you can take away all of his goals and he still has the points record just based on all of his assists, yeah, it's ridiculous.
so of the four major sports, I would think that would be the clearest of the picture regarding the greatest of all time. You can argue the other three sports pretty much till you're blue in the face, but that one is and that's a pretty iconic card as far as the image. The color match, yeah, the color match on the team, everything. It's a really nice card, but so that one's probably definitely that's a reprint, but I'll get that one as well. Now this is the one I originally had off the list, and I got so many answers. This card, this card, this card. So I'm like, yeah, it's I'm probably wrong on this, but this needs to be in there. Yeah, that's it. Is the Satchel Paige. So this, I was surprised. I mean, I got so much page response that it needed to be on the list. I wasn't as familiar with the image, with the card. I mean, I'd seen it before, but this is almost a representation out of respect for this guy that needs to be on the list. So, what's your thoughts on this card?
So good buddy of mine does well. I'm really everyone's those back pages. Eric, he had a rookie Hall of Fame collection going on. And I was one of the last ones that if not the last one that he needed to pick up. That he ran, he was being particular about types and condition and whatnot. Great looking card. It's a uncommon team. He's featured on the Browns, right?
Mm-hmm. St. Louis Browns. His name is spelled wrong on the card as well.
Indeed. Questionably, his age is probably wrong on the back. I know he much like a few other players had questionable birth dates. I think he was even quoted as saying, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were, or something like that. But no, one of the all-time legends of the game. It's unfortunately didn't get to play in the Major League Baseball beforehand. But no, I think you'd find very few that would disagree with that argument. I mean, maybe in place of others, but your Skybox Jordan would be my first target for the in place of others. No offense, I don't disagree. It is an iconic card, but
that's funny. Yeah. So also, I don't have the Trout on the list, which is an omission. So we're gonna slip that in right here. Trout is in, so we're gonna go with that right there. The last two is kind of interesting as well. Probably has something to do with my age as well. But this Bo black and white. The Bo black and white is
90 score. Great set.
Yeah, so this is a super iconic image that we saw used in a marketing campaign for him. There's been some athletes that transcend sports, obviously, all over the spectrum. This guy was there. I mean, he was. You couldn't turn on the TV without seeing this guy. They designed a marketing campaign completely around him and all his crazy abilities. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And he did all the commercials where he'd do every single sport, and so that is a card that's not worth anything. I mean, you can pick one raw for $10 or something, maybe. So
A
20
couple
20
years
bucks.
back, I actually bought early collecting stuff history here. Dad had a factory set of 90 score and 91 tops, and 6, 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid me ripped it open and wanted to see all the cards. And score in particular stuck out because it has this much text on the back of the card. Um, Interesting tidbits, seeing who was still in the league in 96, 97, 98. But that one stood out just because it is not a standard what the base set looks like. And a couple years back, as a birthday present, I got my dad the complete factory set for $10 for both sets, unopened. So it's probably like $5 of that $10 set.
Right.
But no, that could definitely be had for cheaper than some of these other names.
Yeah, it's a beautiful card for sure.
Yeah.
And rounding out the list is a card that is I have no interest in whatsoever. But I respect that there is a whole thing off to the side that is going on, and I hear people talk about this. Well, if you collect these, you got to have this card, and that is
Go
the
Cards, go.
original Charizard of
Hey.
Pokemon. So that is something that is iconic card, influential, whatever you want to call it. I have no interest in collecting. This is the only one that's in the house, but I recognize the fact that it's huge and people are into it. And
Sure.
if you are any historian whatsoever of this line of cards, then this card is kind of a must-have. This is actually a friend of mine. So, but so it's out of respect. They put it on the list as far as
Sure.
that goes. The funny thing is, the interesting thing about this in my list is the a strange omission of football cards, and I love football. I
I was going
absolutely
to say,
love
I
it.
thought for sure you're
Um,
going to slip in Tom Brady, but
so it's weird. You've got the Walter Payton, but I don't know of any football cards that is like the Mahomes may be there. It depends on what happens in the next 10 years.
sure.
But as far as recognizable to a common non-heavy collector, like to see an image, I don't know of one that can crack the list. But I mean, what do y'all think?
Bronco
So
Nagurski, 34, 33.
it's funny.
And I'm not saying that because it has prominent Golden Gophers coloring on it. It's just one of the all-time greats. It's a card that's
Yeah,
way outside of my budget.
OJ Simpson's rookie card, perhaps. Obviously,
Maybe, sure.
Peyton's would be on there. Brady, Mahomes would be in the same vein as Luca, and you could almost put them as a 1A and 1B on your list
Sure.
of ushering in, along with Aaron Judge, this new era. It's funny because I responded to some NBA Twitter feed that I follow. Somebody's like, "Is Kevin Durant top 10 NBA player of all time?" And so I came up with a list of 10 players, and who would you take off? And I don't have the complete list in front of me. And the most common two names that said I would take off Shaquille O'Neal or Larry Bird to put Kevin Durant in that top 10. And it is extremely hard. So to your point, I couldn't get a football card on there. It's like, what do you take off in order to replace probably the Pro Set or the Jordan
The Skybox.
Skybox, excuse
Yeah.
me. I was looking at my show notes. We got Pro Set here in front of me. But you could argue the Luca is up there prematurely. But again, it doesn't have to be equitable. If there's not a football card that deserves a placement there, then it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not this trophy mentality where everybody gets a trophy. The Gretzky's the Gretzky, and if it's the only hockey card, and interesting to see a Pokemon card on there because it is transcendent for the non-sports and Pokemon, and it's the 52 mantle of that particular part of the hobby. And overall there was no 87 McGuire, so it was a terrible list. and worst list I've ever seen. But
Fair.
and again, iconicness, right? I'll go to the mat and die on the hill of 87 being the true rookie, but the 85 is more iconic. It's more recognizable, and it's more desirable. It's more expensive, and none of those mean that it's this or that. But there's the list. So we had Jordan, LeBron, Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird, and Shaquille O'Neal. No particular order. And I mentioned that Hakeem Olajuwon, Dirk Nowitzki, and Steph Curry are other guys I left off the top 10 that I would personally put above Kevin Durant if I was making a list. And that doesn't mean that Kevin Durant's not an incredible player. He can be top 15. He can be top 20. I just don't personally see, and a lot of people are like, oh, Bill Russell could come off that list, Wilt Chamberlain. And it's like, again, it's all subjective. And it's great list of 15. Fun to debate if you want to hop onto the old Twitter tomorrow and we can all argue about it and tell him how wrong he is for omitting this or that. Offer suggestions as to what you would put on that list or what order you would put on there. Because I'm sure, Mark Wilkins says the 90 score Barry Sanders. Vintage Oddball Card says the 81 Montana. So there are the Montana. Yeah, it's probably one outside of maybe the Brady that could be there. So Jim Brown's rookie card's another one. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is people,
Randy
like you
Moss,
just said, people just listed different cards. And unless you see 5 answers of the same card, and it's like, well, is it really that iconic? I'm like, yeah, this is decent. But then all these options are like, does it make it iconic unless everybody's like, yeah. I'd say Montana is probably a good chance. So that's a very recognizable image. The Peyton
Jerry
as
Rice.
well. The green and white rice. Yeah.
Well,
green and white rice.
I would imagine Uncle Rich would probably argue, for the 48-49 Jackie Robinson.
Sure.
Again, there's some Babe Ruths, the Gowdy, Lou Gehrig, but again, it's multi-sport. It's not even multi-sport because you put a Pokemon card on there, so it's trading cards in general, which complicates the argument because now we're bringing in all kinds of cards that if it was just baseball. Just football. Yeah, okay. If it's just football, there we go. Jim Brown's rookie card, Montana's rookie card, Barry Sanders' rookie card. Is that your top 3? Perhaps. You can stick a couple of other ones in that short list. But when you start to, if you took your top 10 cards of each sport, including non-sports where your Pokemon card gets in there, and say, okay, we're going to stick this in a blender and we've got to spit out the top 10 or 15. Sorry, but a lot of cards are going to get lifted off that list, and it doesn't mean they're not iconic. It just means they're not as recognizable. Walking through a card show, and you go, hey, that's a Joe Montana rookie card there. Other collectors might walk by and go, it's Joe Montana, but they can't identify it the same way they would a 68 Nolan Ryan, Jerry Kuzman. So fun list, and I'm glad you hopped on to share that with us. Before we get into the rest of the show, since that segment that portion ran a little bit long, we always ask all of our first-time guests if they could own only one card, which would they choose? And I do have a follow-up to this. What card would you choose to own?
It's if you're of any age as we are, and if you don't choose the mantle, it's kind of weird. But I mean, obviously that's such a card. But I'm going to go away from that. I'm going to go something that was important to my father, who I lost last year. And I'm going to go with I believe I don't even know. It's a 49 leaf mutual with a black and white, where he looks like he's about 15 years old in the picture, and. Mutual was special to him, special to St. Louis. We're Little Rock. We're fairly close to that, and it's he's an important guy. He was the entire career, and I would always put him in the top 5 hitters of all time, top 7 or whatever. Incredible player, incredible person, from what I understand. So that would probably be the card. I'd go with that. That 49, yeah, that one. Okay, I'm thinking about a different one. I'm thinking about one that's it just shows his face.
Yeah, isn't it the face picture.
Yeah, it's just a face one, and that's what I was thinking about. But this one would work too. So
Now, with the Musial aside, so,
48.
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah, that one. What card would you own outside of the Musial that means nothing to anybody else? It costs you under $5-10 on sport lots, maybe $20. That means something to you and you alone.
Right. I probably would say 83 was such an influential year. When you're a kid, you've always got a window of a particular year that's more important to you for whatever reason. So for me, it was about 12 years old, 83. That's when I really started into these the cards. And that set is I just love the look of it with the little circle in the corner, the double picture. I think they've had double pictures before, but that was the first one where they started back into the double picture, 83 and 84. I don't think they've done that for quite some time, even way back, way back. So, the Boggs, the Ryan Sandberg, those rookies in that set were really important to me. And I had a dozen of them, and I played with them, and they were all, corners are all beat up. But yeah, there you go. So anything from that set is really brings back because you know right where you are. Like I know right where I was when I was collecting those cards, and I had a 12-year-old little league baseball game coming up, and I was trading after the game, and you just remember that so well. And the thing about when you get older, you start thinking about wow, memories are so important in a life that you need to jot stuff down more and such. But that one's so ingrained in my brain is the 83 set in general, and not just the top two or three guys. Even some of the guys like Chili Davis had a rookie that I had a dozen of, and I loved it. So anyway,
No,
probably that.
Quick research would be 63 that had the last double.
I was going to say 63
feature.
was one of them, if not the previous. So, Gerald, I appreciate you coming on. I know you said you'll stick around for the remainder of the show, so we're happy to have you as our third this evening. We're going to get into the show. We're going to do the listener mail day pulls. I had asked, we had none for this segment as of yesterday, and I said on Twitter, if nobody wants to offer anything for this segment, that's fine. I'll do 87 Topps McGuire's. I just got 10 new ones, and all of a sudden, a bunch of people are like, I'm DMing you now. Please, God, no. Anything but that, I got you.
For those people, I offer this. Bye, Ben. Where did you go, Ben? There he is.
All right. So this week's feature is courtesy of, it looks like we've got 6 people on tap. Steph, sure. Would you like to run through those since you are much better? And we do appreciate all these submissions, by the way.
Doing the productioning thing, sure. Christopher Schultz, WV Cards _RHEC, shared a ton of recent mail days. Sadly, the 1 coming damaged and my internet acting like it's from 1999. There we go. Transcendent VIP Party, vintage stock, Raldis Chapman. It's got a silver, the Gold Star Parallel, Brian Hayes, some Heritage buyback autos of some 60s Orioles, Dave Vineyard, some through the mails for Jerry Humphrey, Jim Barbary, Jimmy Sexton, these all being baseball guys. Looks like multicolored versions and parallels of the it's not Garrett Cole, what's Bukaka? That's something else.
Is it Musgrove?
Musgrove, yes. Sorry.
Okay,
I should know this. I was at his no-hitter. And the Tyler Zuber auto from 2021 Topps Chrome, as well as the Gold Star Complete set.
Good for him. Good job, Chris. That's awesome.
Next up, J.K. Longwood featured a nice card to share.
Jason's a big Dale Murphy guy, big Braves collector, and got a sharp-looking Murph rookie card.
as it slow loads. It's the Gary Alexander, Rick Cerrone, Kevin Paisley, and Dale Murphy. Nice rookie catchers card there.
Which is an
Very
iconic
fancy.
card in its own right. Dale Murphy.
sure.
Love the 77 set. That was awesome.
There's a couple of really iconic, 2 or 3 major rookie that share cards with each other in those sets. It's kind of interesting. Next up, United States sports cards and moniker not in federal. Sharing 2 Silver Prism for Asia Dur, hoping that she recovers from her COVID injuries and will be able to play next year.
Is that from this year's Prism that just released?
I believe it is. Yes, just recently released. Very fancy silvers.
Yeah, Prism silvers are nice.
Indeed, they are. Next up, we've got Around the Mound, asking if he's got the potential Triple Crown winner, and very likely, depending on how things shake out in the last week and a half of the season here. 2019 Bowman Mega Box Vlad Guerrero Jr. Chrome with helmet version, otherwise known as the Transformers parallel, because it kind of looks like Optimus Prime's head repeated in parallel. Just a cool looking card. Him batting, following through. Hope he doesn't get Prince fieldered. Hopefully he stays healthy and plays out the rest of his career. May he have as well of a career as his father did. I don't know that he will. But next up, and this is why it's towards the end, it's a photo that I absolutely love that showed up from Josh Porter at Celt Sox Pats, throwing in all of the non-S's there. But the card's Mailday. It looks like his daughter holding up an Alex Morgan upper deck.
Which was
exquisite Picciano.
Yeah, pack pulled, no less.
Pack pulled, indeed.
Yeah.
I think it was numbered to 99 for the U.S. women's national soccer team star. Fancy card.
And good for Jeff getting his daughter involved, and obviously, an Alex Morgan card for her. I mean, that's awesome. So good to see her smile in that picture. Definitely appreciate him sharing that with us.
Right. And last but not least, everybody's favorite / spammy Red Sox collector, Mark Hoyle, sharing that he recently picked up the 1960 Tops / Venezuelan Carl Yastrzemski. And not an easy pickup, and I'm sure it being the rookie card, it was not a cheap pickup for Mark, but it sounds like he finished off his team set collection with that. So,
oh boy,
that's very nice to hear. One day, maybe I'll finish a year of Venezuelans.
That's impressive. I mean, it's still in beautiful shape considering it's a Venezuelan and not regular Tops.
Sorry, he has one more to go for 1960.
Yeah, that's amazing accomplishment. So please feel free to share about the cards, your recent awesome mail days or pulls. You can tag the show on Twitter or Instagram. And if you want, you can throw us a 60-second video. Please keep them G-rated. You can use the hashtag about the cards mail day. We'll do our best to feature your cards in an upcoming episode. Otherwise, we will show 87 Topps McGuire's on loop.
I want one.
Last week's releases, I don't have sold numbers, but Topps Living Week 183, 447, Jared Kelly's Starling Marte, outfielder for the A's, and Diamondbacks outfielder catcher number 448, Dalton Varsho. Not a whole lot released as far as major releases. 2021 Panini Donruss Football, 2020-2021 Upper Deck Skybox Metal Universe Hockey, 2021 Topps Montgomery Club exclusive Topps Finest Flashbacks, 2021 Topps Fire, and 2021 Panini Prism WNBA. We will have a little bit more on this later. Hot off the press, new releases. Topps Living Week 184, card 449 Logan Webb, pitcher for the Giants, and card 450 Max Scherzer, pitcher for the Dodgers, making his second appearance. And I believe, Steph, it was actually moved up. It was supposed to be a little later, but
It was.
I think there was some interaction with Jared Kelly on Twitter where he mentioned that
Indeed.
got moved up. It was supposed to come out in a couple of weeks, I believe.
Right. So what happened was with Scherzer getting his 3,000th strikeout, and nearly throwing a perfect game, and all the hype surrounding it. Somebody had tweeted out previously that I wouldn't be surprised if Max gets his Dodgers cards soon after he gets 3,000 Ks. This tweeted 6-ish days ago, something like that. And then Jared Kelly, last week's guest, quote tweets it and says, "Hey, my Max Scherzer card came today. Wasn't slated to drop until 2 weeks from now, but I saw his tweet last week and asked Topps if we could call an audible this week. Thank you for bringing this perfect timing to my attention. You're the reason Max dropped today." And how cool is that?
And Sports Card Photographer, I think it might be Sports Card Photo, the official Twitter handle, so that's my image, that's my photo that was used by Topps. And so we had a little bit of interaction today. We're gonna see if maybe we can get Nick Wasika and Sports Card Photographer and one or two other sports card photographers together, maybe do a special Saturday or Sunday show coming up if we can coordinate everybody's times. Might be fun to have a 5 or 6 person panel with Steph and I being two of those, and just kind of let them all have at it. We'll sit back and have some popcorn and let them talk about their experiences as cameramen. So,
because if I'm not mistaken, it's at Sports Card Photo is the person who took Luis Ariza's rookie card photo. I posted on Instagram, and out of nowhere he replied, "Hey, that's my card. Cool." I'm like, it started following. He shares a good bit of photos, but yeah, I'd love to have him on.
Well, I mean, Gerald, you showed the E.D. Henderson being an iconic photo. Imagine in 1979, 1980 when that photo was captured. No, how would you know that 40 plus years later and
right
in perpetuity we're going to be talking about the iconicness of the image? Who's to say Nick Wasika or one of these other photographers are going to grab a snapshot that's going to end up on a rookie card? Somebody's going to grab it, and to know that that's yours forever and ever, and have that as your hobby legacy. That's pretty awesome. So it'd be fun if we can grab those collection of 3 or 4 people that want to hop on and kind of share their backstories.
Correction from Chad. It wasn't Joe Musgrove. It was JT Brubaker.
Okay, apologies. Yeah, my eyes aren't the best, and I couldn't see it. To grab a name. So, also coming out. I was
thinking JB Booze.
Stop the sentence.
You know who I'm talking about.
Topps Living Star Wars available through next Tuesday. Card 239 Wuhar from Star Wars A New Hope. I believe he was the cantina bartender. Says we don't serve your kind here. Card 240 Tuon Wee, Star Wars Attack of the Clones. I'm sure I butchered that. So those are available. They just dropped yesterday if you're collecting the Star Wars Living set. The Topps Sports Illustrated is also available through next week. It'll be ending about 2 months from now. It looks like it's week 27 of 35. Card 53 is David Ortiz of the Red Sox from 2016. And 54, Ricky Henderson of the A's from 1989. So pretty good 2-pack. Topps Throwback Thursday available through tomorrow morning. So you'll need to grab these tonight or first thing tomorrow morning if you plan to. Set number 36 in the style of 1985 Duran Duran, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is the 4th one. And I believe they're only doing 4 before they cycle to a new design. It might be one more week. Card 106, Bo Bichette. 107 is Shohei Ohtani, which also has a short print variation. and card 108, Mariano Rivera on his knees celebrating. Pretty cool image there. So major releases coming out this week. There is not much. The big ones, which were going to be Topps Gold Label and, of course, Bowman Chrome. With Bowman, they both got pushed back to next week. So we'll highlight, hopefully, 8 to 10 names of who might be the hot prospects to chase in that product. 2021 Upper Deck Allure Hockey. Yeah, also Scott Green. Good buddy, runs prospects1500.com. I wrote for them for a short period of time. Also provided with a list of potential names. So we'll hit that up. And so 2021 Upper Deck Allure Hockey dropped today. Couldn't find a price on Blowout. It's, I believe, $149.95. I got that off of Steel City. You'll get 8 packs in a box, 8 cards in a pack. There's a 150 card base set, 70 vets, 30 rookies, and then 50 short print rookies. In a box, you should get 8 short print rookie cards, an auto, 8 numbered or parallel cards at 5 inserts, along with, this is an either or, you'll either get 2 double rainbow or rare parallels or a mem card based on the sell sheet. There was a note on Blowout cards. If you read that red thing right there underneath, it says this product is not eligible to ship across U.S. borders until September 15th, 2022.
Oh, 2022. Wow.
It does say 2022. Yeah. Unless I misread that, I'm pretty sure it's not eligible for a year. So we mentioned the whole Australia thing, I believe, on last week's show. It'll be interesting to see how much more international shipping is going to be affected by this.
That's a looking card.
So
the City Selly, featuring Delhi in the background. It's a celebration. Will Snipe. But no, I mean, maybe it was a miss, typo, 1 letter off, number off, as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that actually is 2022. I doubt it.
But the thing is, it's releasing today, so why would you even have a note if it's releasing today?
Unless it got pushed back, and that's an old date.
Could be. So just double check if you live outside of the United States, if you're in the Canadian
provinces.
Yeah, if you live anywhere that's not the U.S., you might want to double check before you buy that. Again, we're just going based off of what Blowout cards said, and I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that note as a result.
Of course.
Also releasing this week, I had a little bit of a 702 Breakers. I believe they're based out of Vegas. There was conflicting scheduled dates. I saw Friday's date as well as October 13th. I guess this is for 2021 Donruss Optic Basketball, releasing this Friday. They said that Fast Break, which is a variation of the product, will be releasing on October 13th. This is scheduled to release Friday. It's coming in at $500 a box, 18 packs in a box, 5 cards in a pack. You should get 1 auto and 18 inserts and parallels. So it's an Optic product.
Fast Break.
Yeah.
I'll go sit in the corner.
Hey-o. All right. And then if you are a New York Mets fan, obviously there was a big documentary 4-part series that dropped in ESPN 30 for 30. Topps released a 2021 Topps X ESPN 30 for 30 Once Upon a Time in Queens. It's available now. The way it works is it's $20 per part. There are 4 parts aligning with the 4-part series. You'll get 10 cards per pack, 1 card or 1 pack per box. So basically for $20 you're getting 10 cards. It's a 40 card checklist, so the whole set's going to cost you $80 plus tax. All parts are available now through September 21st or 22nd. So parts 1 and 2 are available through the 21st, 3 and 4 through the 22nd. So you have 5+ days to make your decision. It does chronicle how the team was built. So you'll see cards in there like Darryl Strawberry's draft card, Gary Carter winning the MVP, I believe, in 84, all the way up through the 86 season. There are other online exclusives such as artist proofs, autos of Jimmy Kimmel, Cousin Sal, perhaps more, Mike Tyson, it looks like. And so you'll have to go onto Topps.com while supplies last and grab your Mets cards. Grab your set. I've not yet watched the documentary. Have you guys seen any of it yet?
No,
I was just watching it actually. It was on. I caught the last. I don't know, maybe hour or so. And gosh, is there anything better than sports documentaries? It takes you back right to that time. I
Sure.
wish there were some that were even older that I could go back and watch. But it was well made, and it was. You forget and watching that how many things had to happen just right for that team to pull it off, and which probably is like that a lot in many championships that we don't realize until you really start going back and analyzing and interviewing and think about this decision or that decision. But that was a special year. Yeah, I remember that happening, and yeah, it was not the amazing Mets, but it was basically the same deal.
Yeah, I'm sure Buckner can't wait for documentaries like this to go away. But poor guy. He was actually a really good player. You feel bad that that's how we remember his career. And
His stats are incredible. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, and he probably should be. I mean, he was an incredible player.
yeah, it's amazing how many documentaries they like to make about his life and his one play and infamy. But another great sports doc while we're on it before we move on is it's called Untold on Netflix. There's a few different ones. There's the Malice at the Palace. There's one on Jenner. There's one on a gal who was a boxer. But the one, Crime and Punishment, if you've not seen it, you need to stop what you're doing. I saw somebody use this line on Twitter, and whatever. Stop what you're doing and go watch it. Not tonight. Stay with us. But if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it other than it's about, you know what? Just watch it. It's phenomenal. I had no idea what I was walking into. I thought it was
talking about the tennis one?
Talking about the hockey one.
Oh, yes.
The hockey one. Yeah. It's just, it was something I just turned on one day after I'd watched the Malice in the Palace. That was well done. A little shorter than I would have thought that they could have put more in there. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was just like, this is entertaining. So go watch it. Phenomenal documentary.
That entire series, really. I can't recommend enough.
It's like the movies that made us, and hopefully they continue to make these because they're all well done. And also releasing this week is 2021 Topps Ginter X, which is an online exclusive, and I believe
it's $199 a box.
Is it that? I think it was $100 a box last year.
Yep.
So good luck with that. And then 2021 Topps Star Wars Battle Plans is also releasing today. Other than a couple of lower level oddball releases, that's it. So all scheduled release dates are subject to change, but we're current as of this morning. MSRP pricing and product details were gathered from Blowout Cards and Steel City and subject to change. You can check out Ryan Cracknell's articles on Beckett.com/news for more details on these releases. What's brewing next week? 2021 Upper Deck James Bond Villains and Henchmen on Wednesday the 22nd. And for now, Bowman Chrome also on Wednesday the 22nd. On Friday the 24th, the following are going to release 2021 Bowman Chrome Light, 2021 Pro Set Memories Hockey, 2021 Topps Gold Label, 2021 Pro Set Metal Football, and 2021 Pokemon V Union Special Collection. Again, who knows with this stuff if it'll hold. So on to the Infield Chatter Hobby Talk section. Industry Summit happened over the last couple of days. I put a note in here that we're going to add notes. Didn't see a whole lot that actually was reportable. There's a couple things here and there, some pictures, but is the Industry Summit run its course, Steph?
I saw some minor notes, some minor news here. People talking about how the crowd seems to be getting younger. How a lot of talk about fanatics naturally. People talking about what this means for the hobby or what people will need to do to stay relevant. And I did see, a couple of people more infamously kicked out of the event, but it's no surprise. Knowing the guys who run that podcast and news radio site.
We'll get into that here in a sec. Yeah.
But I mean, also, I heard there's some good discussions, some good talking points. We don't have the video, but Leaf CEO Brian Gray gave the closing remarks, and apparently it wasn't a very pat you on the back friendly closer. So it's apparently being recorded, so we'll see how that actually turns out. But outside of that, I've just seen a lot on my feed of people getting back together and talking. So it didn't seem like
But
too much major news. I mean,
but a couple
Fanatics
years
kind
ago,
of jumped the shark.
everybody was there. Now Topps and Panini are off doing their. I mean, the 2021 Industry Summit, 2026. It's going to be called the Fanatics State of the Union. I mean, it's just it's. I think it's run its course, but especially on the heels of the National, you don't really need these back to back. And nowadays, I don't think you need to rent out a Las Vegas ballroom to do something like this. You can do this all virtually, as we've all learned. Most of our jobs can be done virtually. So can something like the Industry Summit, especially when some major players aren't there. It's just
Well, and I mean, there were some photos that came out today. Apparently, they held an all or mostly all women hobby panel. A wild card made an appearance. The Go GTS crew had a huge one of one or one of 10 or whatnots of Trevor Lawrence that they're apparently giving away. Stay tuned to their show for information. But yeah, like I said, that's no huge ultra major news that you didn't miss from the National.
all right. So as you kind of alluded to, banned from the summit via Colin Teddards at Sports Card Radio. Colin said he bought a ticket to the summit, but was not allowed entrance due to them being sold out or overbooked. He said that as of yesterday or the day before the show, you could still register to go. When a few people asked why he wasn't allowed, he claims that they don't really want us to know what's really going on. Although I'm sure there's video. So he decided he was going to go to the beach and rent out a beach house, and good for him. And again, something like the Industry Summit, when you don't have friends in the room, they can invite who they want or allow entrance to who they want. So, I like Colin and Ryan. I think they're good guys, but of course our personalities are aligned with our combativeness.
To one, I think Ryan in person, and brash and certainly confrontational, but no less interesting conversations that we had. So
they're entertaining, So hop on the old Twitter or Instagram or wherever if you're interested in the Industry Summit. I believe Mike Summer on his Twitter timeline posted a few things. So if you want to hop on see what he had to share, you're welcome to do a little bit of legwork.
I did see that our good buddy Kraken Wax had apparently won one of Loop's premier awards, so that's nice to see. They had a nice plaque ready and waiting for him. I don't know what other awards that the Industry Summit and or Loop gave away, but it's nice to see one go to a smaller breaker per se, especially with all of the personal family and whatnots that they've been going through lately. Here we go. Found the tweet. Eric Doty on Twitter, DMZilla. Thank you so much, Beckett Media, for the opportunity to award the first Loop Breakthrough Award to Kraken Wax, who decided to contribute $5,000 in his name during our November Loop Charity Week, where all proceeds are split between Violence Free MN and at Marlin's Impact to well-known and established charities. Great to see, and hopefully in some of his new break videos, Chris Topher will be able to display that nice award he's got there that someone else has for him since he's in Minneapolis.
And we'll be mentioning Chris a little later in the show as well.
Sure.
Former co-host, and founder, former co-founder of the show, Big Shep 79, had went to a local card show on this past Saturday. Apparently sold out all of his inventory while he was there, and alluded to a big announcement with his hobby future on Saturday. Got a little busy. Quite a few people were, after he teased this big announcement, were leading people to speculate, invest, that he was leaving the hobby. And so there's a 6-minute video he has on his timeline if you want to reach out at Big Chep 79 and listen. Basically, it turns out that a fellow collector dealer here in the Sacramento area might be opening up a new LCS coming this winter in the Roseville, California area, which is about 10 to 15 minutes from Tim's house. And that Tim might be accompanying him, or it might be joining him in that venture. I don't know if it's as a partner or as an employee. I'm sure there's still details to be worked out, but good for Tim and his new venture. There might be a new podcast or YouTube live stream from the shop once all of it's up and running. Still a couple of...
My understanding is that he's looking to run their breaks similar to Mojo, and maybe have some athletes come in or whatnots and give their personal whatnots in interviews. Kind of a smaller version of our intro section.
Yeah, so we'll keep updates as Tim shares those with everybody. We'll keep everybody in the loop, and of course, once there's more solid stuff and he's got some things to share, I'm sure he'd be happy to come back on, share that with everybody. So, kind of shifting gears, unfortunately, there was an armed robbery at an LCS in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Is it Altoona?
Yep.
Missed the A. There was a couple of typographical errors in the show notes by yours truly. Oh, I didn't?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did. Anyway, I also spelled Gerald's right. Or wrong. I called him Garrett. So there was some video by way of wearecentralpa.com. It's about a minute spot. Basically, it just shows a little bit of video and interviews one of the cops who outlines what type of weapon was used. This happened September 14th, so yesterday as of this recording. The LCS was robbed by gunpoint, and apparently the owners were asked to, or not asked, but told to get into a restroom. This is an LCS by our buddy Mike Biggins, Big's Daddy Cool on Twitter. Unfortunately, it was just a matter of time, in my opinion, and we've predicted on this show and on our Twitter timelines that something like this was going to happen. And man, I wish I was wrong, but we're going to start seeing more of this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. This is Bigsy's personal favorite shop to go to. Apparently, the guy is kind of a bit of an eccentric, but has the best deals and prices around. And to hear that the shop got robbed and in the manner that they did is very unfortunate. I hope to catch the guy. I hope it's not related to all the rash of break-ins that happen in Kentucky and Tennessee, slowly making their way up north. I don't know. Maybe not so much in Pennsylvania or whatnots, but you think and hope for people's safety first of all. But it's just cards, guys. I mean, I don't care if you're taking a Mickey Mantle. It's money, but come on, stay safe. Don't be dumb.
Yeah. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's anytime money. You've heard the expression "money is the root of all evil." This is going to happen in humanity, unfortunately, and it's the rush of people going to the counter and grabbing the boxes and in economics, as much as anybody, Ben, if there's high margin gigs don't last, right? It comes back to the mean. Eventually, this sort of thing, I hope, is going to work itself out. But this is a short-term negativity that we have to deal with regarding the boom. So super sad. But hopefully this works out to where we're not seeing these videos to where people are fighting in aisles and stuff for very long. I hope.
Yeah, there's a lot of money running around these shows. The National, not a ton of
Mhm.
security, if any at all. Like I mentioned, there was a card show in Sacramento this past weekend. How much security was there, I can't speak to. I didn't go, but I've been to the shows in the past where there's none that's visible. So I think we're going to see more of this. I hope, I pray I'm wrong. Shame on you if, but I don't know how much of this is collectors as much as other people who are criminals seizing an opportunity, because there's been so much of this in the media and everybody's covering it, and there's articles, and you're seeing all of this returning collectors and a lot of money being moved from hand to hand, and a lot of it's cash.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to lead us into our next topic, but the more money that's out there that people have in their pockets, the more you're just asking to be robbed. And it's just the way the world works. The crime is on every street corner, and just be aware of your surroundings, and hopefully, if the police have not caught this person, I'm assuming it's one person. They do so.
It seems like a 6 foot, 200-pound white male. There was another picture that I'm not seeing, but it shows him pointing the gun essentially right in this area, and the other guy leaving through the back door here.
The cop in the video says cash and a few high-end boxes. So again, if you want to check out the video, we are centralpa.com had the video as of yesterday, September 14th. Might have updates as well if they've updated the article. So again, cash leads us into this next one, IRS v bank accounts. This came by way of Suze at Yanks Chick. There is an article. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this just because we don't know what this is necessarily yet, but basically the IRS is starting or wanting to crack down. There might be some legislation going on where banks would have to disclose banking information to the IRS on all accounts with a $600 plus balance. The premise, based on what the IRS is saying, is to target richer individuals who are underreporting their tax liabilities. However, $600 is an extremely low barometer and could be seen as an attack on the lower socioeconomic classes. So why Susan reported this, why we're mentioning it, this very well could have an impact on the hobby with all the money that's going around undoubtedly being reported. So, I've mentioned on my timeline quite a bit, this is all reportable income, everything. You make $50 at a flea or at a garage sale on Saturday. Technically, you're supposed to report it. There's a section to report that. Do we? No. We buy pizza and donuts, and we end up spending more money than we make at the yard sale. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your expenses side unless you're going long form and you want to start doing a P&L and be a legitimate business. A lot of this is stuff that the IRS already has in place. Some of the stuff's already just going to be, some of the death taxes and whatnot, they're just cracking down on now. This could impact people that have these quote unquote side hustles. What are your guys' thoughts?
We've seen. I've done a lot of e-commerce in other areas, not just cards, but we've seen this when things happen, when technology, the internet just cranked up, and retailers were all over the place, 90s, 2000s. We saw the same thing with sales tax, right? So the sales tax was there was never any sales tax on the internet, and it just each year it got a little closer and a little closer, and then this state adopted it, and then this state, or then the feds tried it, and then this state argued back, and it was, but the end game, right? It was coming to where sales tax was going to be, calculated on e-commerce, and we're kind of there now.
I think there's only like 4 states that aren't.
Do what?
I said I think there's only like 4 states that don't have
right.
whatnot.
Right. So this is the same deal, right? They're cracking down on things like this. $600 is not we know that number from when regarding 1099s to go out at the end of the year. If you paid someone over $600, you got to give them a 1099 for their income. So that's a number we've seen before. So, but we kind of know the indirection that hey, you can't be hiding stuff. It's coming.
Yeah, most of us are trying to be honest when we do our taxes. I mean, obviously, we don't want to have to pay, which is a whole different discussion. But just be aware. I always tell people when you sell something, you should probably keep 30% in a separate account, just in case if you were to get audited. At the end of the year, you have 30% of your sales if you don't need that. If you end up getting a return after you've reported your income, cool, bonus yourself that 30%. Put it in savings. Put it in your portfolio. Take your significant other on a nice vacation. Buy a PC card. Any number of things. Put it in your kid's college fund. But if you're selling, especially if you're selling high dollar, you should be reporting this, and you should be setting aside around 30% in a separate, call it an escrow account, that you don't have immediate access to. It's not linked to your PayPal. You can't spend it. That way you have it just in case there's an issue when you file your taxes next year and you find yourself having to pay and owe. Mm-hmm. But this is coming, and it's definitely something that if we find out more information, if this becomes, I know the state of Ohio is fighting back, so we'll see if this comes into effect. But don't be surprised if you get 1099 by PayPal this year. Don't be surprised if any number of things happen. This is real, and unfortunately, the more money that's in this hobby, the more this stuff is going to start to affect us, you, me, and the next person. When I say I'm not talking in the abstract, I'm talking to you. If you're selling, you're going to be affected. This is going to touch you at some point. So,
this topic, here's the perpetrator.
Yeah, if you have any information, if you live in the Pennsylvania area, just be careful, be aware that this is the stuff that we're going to probably be facing over the next year or two, as there's a big spotlight on the hobby and new regulations might be put in place and whatnot. So be better, Panini, specifically at Old Dirty Mooch. He sent a string of 10 consecutive tweets outlining some of the issues with the aforementioned Panini's 2021 WNBA release. So if you are on Twitter, go to his timeline, search for it. You can read through it. Some of the issues that he brought to the attention of Panini was wrong imagery used on player cards, which we've seen before. But when you couple that with using a player image that was from 3 teams ago, 2 teams ago, it happened more than once. And then they were using images from players from previous teams on multiple cards, as well as the misuse of the rookie card logo. So he had, one of them was pretty egregious, and he's like, this is the player that you erroneously had somebody else on their card. The player that you didn't put on the card, their card, was a multi-time All-Star and laid out a lot of stats related to that particular player. This just reeks, as I was reading through it, it's like, gosh, this is sloppy quality control, almost like you didn't care. You were just trying to piss out a product. And what do I care that player X is now on, this particular team, and we showed an image, and she's been on 3 different teams since then. So,
thanks, Panini.
Yeah. You get. I mean, we know that their level of concern is very low for the collector, but man, this is bad. So again, Old Dirty Mooch, no D, just OL, Dirty Mooch, on Twitter if you want to read through some of his concerns. And I guess he didn't even have the product in hand yet, just things that he had seen in breaks that he was bringing to the attention of Panini and fellow collectors. So it was one of those ones like, bum, more to come when I get this product in hand. And this is an interesting topic. And I think, Steph, we might have covered the last question before quite a while back. Something came along my Twitter timeline. Bill Goldberg, WCW auto scam via Evan Bovey at Evans on Tour on Twitter. Evan called out an unnamed scammer, perhaps MCW guy, as well as PSA, for grading a fake auto of Goldberg from 1999. So, because I'm me, sometimes I can come across as combative. So I responded and said, hey, I'm not trying to be combative. I just wanted to kind of know. I asked him how he knew this was a reprint or a fake card because I wanted to use it on the show if it's legitimate. And this is what he had to say in response to my question. He goes, the person in question, this MCW guy, went to signing appearances and of Goldberg, Sting, and others and had them re-sign the cards to come off as authentic. So they were signed, basically touched up. Goldberg's auto has changed since 1999. Sting's signature size has changed, according to Evan. Evan claims that he has bought 4 to 5 raw cards from this seller off of Mercari, and the seller allegedly used a stamp tool to block out the original auto when reprinting. There are blotches on some of the cards he has sold or that he currently has for sale. There's blurry lettering on the back of some of the cards. So my question to you guys, your thoughts, and again, Steph, I think we might have covered this, is having the actual person re-sign their own card a reprint? Because essentially they're just touching it up. Is this a scam? Is it considered authentic if the collector has them touch up their own auto from 20 years earlier?
Well, so perfect case example. Why am I getting doubled over? 1 second. How's that? Okay, I'm good. No, perfect case example of this. There is a rather infamous set that is known for the autos fading. I'll be like sweet spot, probably 07, 08, 09, somewhere in there. This particular one is from 07. I don't know if you can see the auto on there. Nobody else can. This was signed. The card has faded since. The auto has faded since. But would it be a reprint to have Jason Kubel, in this case, re-sign it? To me, I don't think it's right to have them re-sign it. Everybody knows this set, so it'd be kind of suspect that you have a pristine auto on it. But in this case, it sounds like they photoshopped out the autograph on an authentic one, reprinted the card without it, and then had this person, the Goldberg, sign the card that they reprinted. And that most certainly, I mean, while the auto may be legitimate, you've scammed Panini, the PSA, and you've scammed Goldberg, and presumably whoever you sell it to, in that it's not an authentic card. I'm sorry.
I would agree. We've seen PSA and others not even grade. Like it's almost like a trimmed card. That card's been altered. Yeah, it's an authentic auto because the guy signed it. But I mean, I don't know what the exact rules of the PSA grading system is, but they will not. And I've got some personal knowledge on this as far as a card I had for years and years and years, and tried to get it graded, and it came back trimmed, and I was devastated because it was a great card. But so I would think that's an altered card and should not be graded. But that's just kind of my opinion.
Yeah. If you are using some kind of a tool, Photoshop tool, to block out an auto, absolutely that's a scam, and you're selling that knowingly. If you want to go back and get a sweet spot card signed that was already signed, what's the difference between that and getting just any random base card signed? The only problem becomes when you sell it, you have to disclose it, and there comes the chain of command. Because if I sell it, if I get Jason Kubel to sign it, and I sell it to Gerald and say, hey, listen, it was signed in 07, but in 2021 I had him re-sign it because the auto faded, and he's okay buying it, then the problem becomes if he doesn't tell you, Steph, when you buy it, we've broken that chain of command, and now you're buying something unknowing that this card was signed twice by the same player 15 years apart.
Right.
And you get into that really gray area, but if I would be careful, and again, that's where grading becomes a scam and becomes into question at the very least, because PSA has graded this. Mm-hmm. So now it's authentic, right? Because somebody put their stamp of approval on it. So again, do your homework. Right now there's a reprint Michael Jordan LeBron James, I don't think that we put it in the show notes. Dual auto numbered 23 out of 23. And the screenshot I got this morning was selling for $5,400. And at the very end of the listing, it did say RP. But it was kind of hidden in the title to where, 66 people were watching it at the time. Somebody else in the Facebook group posted a link to Etsy where you can buy these for $2 each. Just, be careful, buyer beware, right? Know what you're buying, and always, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, ask a friend. Phone a friend. If you don't know, ask for others' opinions. There's plenty of people out there that will be willing to help you out and give something a second look. Which brings us to the next topic. There's a potential another eBay scam, perhaps. At Shag with a G, Shag Sports Cards ran a poll. Apparently, he was selling a 30 spots for National Treasures. I don't know if it was baseball or basketball, but one buyer bought all 30 spots off of eBay, sent him a message saying, just ship me the unopened box. And it raised at least a orange flag, perhaps. Shag put a poll out asking if this was a scam and what the community on Twitter thought. Steph, what are the results of that?
So 54 votes, 70.4% said yes, they think it is shady. 29.6 say no. And you guys can see that I obviously voted yes. It's kind of shady. I don't know that it is a scam. Personal thoughts that now I could see if the guy's selling a break, and for such a high dollar box, this is obviously why attentions and concerns are through the roof. But why does it matter that they're not open? You want a super expensive box, and presumably the scam would be that you then contact eBay and say you didn't get what you ordered, or that it wasn't delivered as in the condition that it was stated, and then you get your money back and you have the full-on legitimate empty box break to break. No. You had it listed as a break, even if the guy bought all 30 and gave extra, like the guy from last week before. No. I wouldn't ship this. I would cancel the sale.
Gerald, what do you think? Would you ship?
Yeah, that's it. I'm just trying to understand this. It's kind of an odd deal. We've seen personal breaks before, right? Say
Sure.
I buy this box and the guy breaks it live. Would that be Shags say, yeah, you can buy all 30 spots, but I'm going to break it right here. I mean, I'll show you everything, and it's going to be a documentation of every detail of every card going. So that's the only way that I mean, it's kind of like just shipping any expensive product, right? There's chances of non-payment and scam and saying you didn't get what you're supposed to get. So this kind of falls in the same category of anything else.
You had a couple responses that basically said, yeah, it's a scam. Just I wouldn't. Shag did not honor the sale. He canceled it. Said, if you want to buy a full box, go find another listing, buy it elsewhere. This was a break. Did not feel comfortable, especially at the $4,000 price point, which is what the box cost to him. And other people are like, hey, the guy bought it fair and square, ship it. But we know eBay's policies, and I can understand Shag being cautious. So it's tough to say. There's enough red flags like you outlined, Steph, to where I would be very hesitant, especially at that price point, knowing if it is a scam, I'm not getting that money because eBay is going to side with the buyer. And
and I mean, it's a huge difference between a 1989 Topps base card, but we're talking a $4,000 box. Maybe it's not a scam, but the person requesting that he ship the box unopened, plus the cost, plus everything else, he saw too many red flags.
Yeah.
Much like the Vikings play last week.
Agree, disagree. Don't know if it's a scam, but there's enough out there to where I personally would be hesitant. Shag was, And again, make your own personal decision on that. But it looked like out of the 54 votes, the majority, 70% said they agree that there's enough. Scam is always a loose word.
Sure.
So maybe we should say shady, shenanigans, whatever.
Questionable.
Yeah, it's a lot of those words are interchangeable here with this particular topic. Just be
Speaking
careful.
of
And
interchangeable words,
Mike Sproul's in the YouTube chat seems shady to him. Wouldn't it have just been cheaper to buy the box outright? Probably, and I imagine considerably, unless he won them at auction and maybe he got a few of them cheaper. So, yeah, I don't know if it was listed as a buy it now. You just said he bought all the spots. So,
right.
Passing the buck also via eBay via a guy named Steph, the right Steph, the best Steph at Arsenal. It had different spelling at Arsenal Cards. Says he had a buyer from Italy who asked the seller, Steph, to reimburse him 20 euros, which is equal to $23.16 USD. Apparently, there was an import tax, so the buyer had to pay the postman this additional 20 euros before he could receive the product. My quick thoughts, you guys might agree or not. Sorry, those are your country's import taxes, not mine. I didn't do anything wrong. I've shipped it to you. It arrived. If your country wants to hit you on the back end with additional taxes, that's on you. Steph, you want to read the eBay?
Yep, sure.
Message?
The person writes in, "Hello, friend. My card has just arrived. I had to pay 20 euros to the postman. I paid you everything here on eBay, and it bothered me to pay another 20 euros to the postman. Can I ask you to get 20 euros back? I'm attaching the photo of the payment that I had to make to receive the card." So, naturally, nature of the business, we get this and or similar requests all the time saying, "Hey, you shipped me a thing. I had to pay import taxes, and why?" Well, because duties are a thing, and they are posted, and as such, that's the thing that you have to pay just because you are purchasing from a U.S. Based company. It's no different here versus eBay versus anywhere else. That's your responsibility. I mean, you could have not bought the card, and then you wouldn't have had to pay the import tax, the duties to that. You went in knowing that the person had in, and maybe this scares him off of selling internationally. Maybe that's probably why a good chunk of eBay sellers don't sell or won't ship internationally. But no, that's that guy's responsibility. I agree with him fully.
Yeah, this one's easy. We occasionally in our business, buy a product from Amazon Canada, and it comes, and not every time, but sometimes that UPS guy walks in the door and says, "I'm gonna need a check for $12.80 for this import fee." We write the check and hand it to them, and they take it back. So that's an easy decision there.
Right.
Yeah, it's on the buyer. And Gerald, you, what line of work are you in? I personally know, but just for the listeners.
Yeah, sure. So I deal with college bookstores. We own, like the school will lease out their space to us, and we go inside and run the store for the school. So I have a little bit of knowledge of Fanatics, and I don't know if you want to go into that topic or wait till later, but that's kind of interesting what they're doing in the bookstore, spirit store area. You want to get into this now, or you got something else? Or?
No, we got a lot of other stuff that we still want to get to, but yeah, go
Yeah,
for
it's
it.
kind of interesting. So, for instance, like if you go to Fanatics, obviously everybody knows the announcement they are taking over the world in whatever time frame they are doing as far as the hobby, and everybody's got their anecdotal experiences with them. Yeah, they screwed up this order, or they screwed up that, they got bad customer service or whatever. But that company is something else. They are on the move, and I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. But for instance, like say if you go to OU football game, and you walk in the stadium and there's 70,000 people walking in, you're going to walk in right past a spirit shop that is run by Fanatics. Now that store used to be what's called the bookstore, and you go into a college bookstore and it has textbooks and it has T-shirts and it has pencils and everything else. Now you walk in and OU has moved their bookstore completely online to a website. All the books are gone, and that Fanatics has taken over that store and pay OU a commission for doing so on their sales. So they've got it completely decked out, 2 floors of incredible merchandise that I can't imagine what kind of business they do on a game day. So it's kind of interesting that they're, and I don't have a list of all the physical locations they have on campuses, but they have a lot. And they're going to try to keep taking over more and more of the Power Five or any big university. And that also creates a distribution point for cards. So, obviously, when the Fanatics site is going to be loaded down with cards, we think. But we're also going to be, are we going to see mad dashes to campus stores, the physical stores that Fanatics has are they going to use those for distribution points on cards? Nobody knows. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But it's an interesting angle that they're going to, because everybody wants that. What is that age 18 to 25 consumer? And and they've got a large chunk of it.
That's it's very interesting, and it's another avenue that you have personal experience with that most of us don't know that Fanatics has in their back pocket. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops over the next couple of years. So this next topic, if you're not watching this with visual video, you might not get as much out of it, but Black Borders via Sports Card SIG on Twitter. He was selling out of a card numbered 4 out of 10. It's an immaculate rookie eye black jersey of Joe Burrow for $800. Gorgeous card until you look at it a little bit more. And then the amount of damage on the border is astounding. And I mean, it really is a sharp looking card. It goes back to the whole black borders are gorgeous, but so sensitive to condition, and no way, in my opinion, somebody drops $800 on this. First off, because now it's there's new quarterbacks to collect, a new rookie class. Burrow was so 2020, but again, I mean, there's just damage on at least 3 corners as well as along the bottom.
Yep, 3 corners, bottom center. Some specks here and there on the right and top sides.
Is that an eye black patch?
It is.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And actually, it even looks like there's a little bit of specking on the bottom of the jersey window.
Yes, if you're not watching this show and you're only listening, there's a small swatch that's mostly black with a little bit of orange. And as Steph alluded to, the window on the very bottom might have a little bit of damage. And then there's the picture of Burrow, and just below his waist is the serial number. Below that is the eye patch. Really good looking card. No way he gets $800. Some people are like, "Oh, that's $100 card in that condition." Other people are like, "Are you crazy?" It's numbered out of 10. It's Burrow, and it's like,
well, and then to make matters worse, it looks like the signature's starting to come off the top of the eye black, and the eye black itself is starting to come off the card. This would be better served as a NASCAR card or not Formula One, but a backroads card, because it's drifting off the side of the car. The card.
So yeah, unfortunately, this is going to happen. Cards get damaged. I'm sure this probably came out of the pack like this. I don't think that the owner of the card intentionally damaged such a expensive card, but it could be wrong. It's time to retire the black bordered cards for this very reason. So I want to turn to
when done right.
They do, yeah. I mean, 1971 Topps is one of the best sets ever produced, in my opinion. But the old Conlon stuff in the late 80s, early 90s, it's just condition sensitive. We saw a few years back with the Gypsy Queen colored parallels that had serious chipping. So our good buddy Brian Bice, Brian Cards for a Cause at Bice Music, says he just reactivated his Sport Lots store, which is Brian B03, BRIAN B03, All profits through
03.
Halloween will be donated. Did I say? Yeah, Brian
You
B.
said
03.
Yeah,
03. 03. All profits through Halloween will be donated to his daughter Carmen's Fund at Carmen Fund. That is singular on the Twitter handle, Carmen Fund. Carmen unfortunately passed away at a very young age in 2019 due to complications from hydrocephalus. Please check out his inventory on Sport Lots and buy as much as you can. Hopefully he has something for your PC. If he doesn't, I am sure direct donations can be made as well by reaching out to the Carmen Fund Twitter page or by contacting Brian and Melissa Bice. They are a wonderful family. I've had them in my home. I've went on a road trip with Brian. He's a incredible guy, great family, great parents. Carmen was an absolute delight. Had the pleasure of having breakfast with them one morning shortly before her passing. So if you guys and gals want to go out and donate any money or anything to the fund, again, Carmen Fund or Bice, B-I-C-E, music on Twitter. And I'm sure the Bice family would be more than happy to direct you as to how you can donate money to that fund. Or again, Bice B03 on Sport Lots. He'll donate all the profits to the fund himself. So, and I believe there's also a charity walk coming up in October. I'd love to attend one of those. One of these years, I will have an opportunity to. So
10/23/21.
Yeah, if you're in the Sacramento, Stockton, California area and would like to attend that, again, reach out to Brian and the About the Cards handle on Twitter. We'll do our best to kind of keep everyone updated as well. So why the hate for A&G because of stuff like this? This was posted by me. It was borrowed from Facebook. There was a guy on Facebook who ripped some A&G, Allen and Ginter, and asked God not to give him some rando baseball player's relic. Of course, God answered and responded with this, a Kelly Rangham softball player relic. And this is why A&G gets so much hate from the non-educated collectors and speculators who buy A&G hoping for something good.
Okay, so 2 quick things. One, for the love of God, people, please stop posting crotch shots in the car. Ain't nobody want to be looking down at your groin. Second of all, it was a blaster, my dude. What did you expect? You're lucky.
You're lucky you got something. Yeah.
3, on the topic of Ginter, open up the 2014 box for. Look, if you didn't do your research, you didn't search the checklist, you didn't see that Ginter has infamously has a tiered relic whatnots where these are a lot more rarer than these that are a whole lot more common, and you could probably expect that maybe out of a blaster you have a 99 of 100 chance of getting these and maybe 1 in 100 of getting one of those if you get anything. I don't know what this guy was expecting. I mean, it is what it is. It's Ginter, love it or hate it. But the guy got what he deserved almost.
Yeah, but it made me giggle when he's like, please, God, don't let me pull this. And God's like, Kelly Rangham. It's like, you wish it was a Major League Baseball player. You didn't want some random baseball player. Well, we gave you a softball player. So the irony, I thought was
he
funny.
Is the coach USA softball of North Dakota.
It's somebody else. I don't know if it was one of the many Tims on Twitter responded like, I met him at a Transcendent party last year, and he was a really nice guy. And I'm like, what's that got to do with this $3 relic? And he goes, nothing. He's just a nice guy.
That's the type of response he deserved.
So yeah. Anyway, know what you're buying on Ginter. We've said that so many times. Kelly Rangham is a nice guy. So this one came via our good friend Paul Lesko. Yo mama. We all kind of grew up in that yo mama. That's what she said. Comebacks. He says, what's the worst hobby insult? And he gave a few options: shillbitter, trimmer, counterfeiter, spammer, pack searcher, hoarder. A few of the other responses were Nick Vosbrink said investor or flip vester. Steve Brightman said non-payer. Brian MC says gatekeeper. Ziggy No said liar. I said collector. What is the worst insult, gentlemen?
Easy answer. It's the one the show tweeted. Peck pervert.
I mean, trimmer and counterfeiting. I mean, that's criminal. I mean, that is about as bad. I can imagine calling somebody worse than that. But
John Jaha, super collector.
we love you, Ryan. Ryan Cracknell has a love for John Jaha that my McGuire collection could only dream about. But yeah, it's kind of fun to have fun with that, and Paul has a lot of fun stuff on his timeline if you're not following him. But yeah, Gerald, I think you're right. If it's, if you're a counterfeiter, something like that, you're literally committing a criminal act. Where if you're, a gatekeeper, a liar, I mean, yeah, these might alter your
just annoying
public perception, your reputation, but at the end of the day, they're not bad. A spammer is irritating.
Yeah, gatekeeper. Right.
So yeah. Anyway, that was a fun topic, and we appreciate Paul for posting that. Check out Paul_Lesko and see if you can track that down. I think it was from yesterday or the day before, and you can read through some of the fun. Yeah, that's the kind of fun stuff that we have. Steph, I'm going to push these last two topics, which I think have been pushed for a few weeks now. We'll move ahead to the shit you see on eBay or Facebook. Yard sailing. I found this on the good old Facebook, so I shared this on Twitter. This guy, Joe, bought so much product to presumably flip that he literally set it up at a yard sale to move some of what was left. And somebody pointed out, including those counterfeit hats he has there in the picture as well. So if you're buying inventory and you got to set up at a yard sale and post your yard sale in a local Facebook group and Craigslist, the modern day newspaper, somebody responded to me and they're like, you'd love to roll up on that. I'm like, yeah, but not to buy.
Right.
Where I would love to roll up on this at? A Target or a Walmart.
Right.
It's a ton of product. There's got to be Steph? There's got to be about 60 items there.
Okay, so
just eyeballing because I know there's some individual packs too. There's got to be 60 to 80 pieces between blasters, hangers, and packs, and he's got supplies too. So and hats.
Maybe not the best choices of product either. I mean, yeah, sure, there's Prism and Chronicles, but he's also got Heritage, Sport Kings, Series 2 hockey. Yeah, kind of hit and miss here.
I would probably he'd probably call the cops on me if I pulled up because I'd grab my phone and do a PSA, and I'd start it out like Rod Serling, like what we found here today was, and at the end it'd be the more you know. Don't flip. And courtesy of Jared Kelly, don't do crack because you can get addicted. So it's
as we found out last week, kids.
So this one was a little bit of a delicate topic, so I don't want to try to get it. I'm not trying to be offensive in any way. There was T_V guy on Twitter said that he had a seller that he had reached out to allegedly on Monday, 2 days before Wednesday, today being the beginning of Yom Kippur, the Jewish observation. The seller said he couldn't combine shipping per the buyer TV guy's request due to religious observance. Mm-hmm. With all due respect to that, my thought, and I don't know because I'm not Jewish. Uncle Rich said he didn't see anything wrong with this. Apparently, you can't work on these days, if I understand correctly. Steph, was that what Uncle Rich had mentioned?
He alluded to it. It's probably not a day that you should be working. And I mean, my point was that if you know that this holiday is coming up, maybe don't have anything listing the week before, ending the week beforehand. or I mean, presumably, my understanding is that the date changes every year. I think even at 1 year, it was on my birthday, 9/27. Um, but this is the thing that you could easily see during Christmas or Kwanzaa or any other end of the year type holiday where you know that you're going to be out of office, and eBay gives you tools to manage that. I can understand his frustrations per se in that being able to combine something should be simple and easy, but I can understand his point that hey, these 2 days I'm out of office, I will combine it on Friday for you, no problem. Um, it doesn't sound like he's going to hit him for not paying on time, but I can see both sides.
My thought was, and again, with all due to the religious observation of these 2 days or period, if it's like a 24-hour period, and I apologize for not being familiar with the holiday.
I believe
Uh,
Rich said it started at sundown and goes through tomorrow.
Gotcha. So my thought was, wouldn't it be the same effort? Couldn't he just go in there and click a couple of buttons and combine the shipping for the buyer as opposed to writing out the message, which probably took longer? Again, I don't know if that violates the observation of the day.
Sure.
But again, Steph, you outlined a lot of options that the seller could have used.
Mm-hmm.
And if the buyer did in fact reach out on Monday, 2 days prior to the beginning of Yom Kippur, he could have, theoretically he had more than enough time, 48 hours of time to combine the shipping, and could have mentioned to the buyer, hey, if you do pay in the meantime, here's the deal. I can't, ship due to this until Friday. And, all of us would have understood, been okay with that. So much of life is communication.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have a listener question before we get on to our shout outs and wrap up the show. Pat McMahon reached out to us at Cadillac Pat. He asked, who should I have grade this card? And it is,
the default answer would be nobody, but given that what this is what it is, and he claims to have the full set, this being the Bumblebee Dwayne Johnson perforated University of Miami college football card, heavily counterfeited. I can understand wanting to get this graded to verify its authenticity, not so much for his own sake, but in the instance that he wants to sell. I can easily see maybe suggesting submitting the entire set, because how many of us have the 86 tops Jose Canseco, but do you have the rest of the set? As far as who, I mean, obviously BGS and PSA are the tops right now. There are a couple other companies that are making inroads, but those have been the standard for the longest time.
And a lot of it comes down to the big question, in my opinion, is, are you keeping it? Are you looking for appreciation value? In which case you have to weigh what the raw card would sell for versus the graded, and then what your cost would be to get it graded. It's an older card, so I don't think it's going to be one of those things where it's time sensitive. If it takes you a while, 6 months to get it back, but if one of the graders can get it back to you, or can do it at a less expensive cost, I might consider that, because at the end of the day, it's kind of 6 and 1, half a dozen. In my opinion, it's probably not really much difference if you go PSA versus BGS. So really, what's it going to cost you to get it graded? And are you keeping it, or are you going to try to sell it? So hopefully that answers your question. I know it's not very specific. Gerald, do you have any thoughts?
It's kind of like a friend of mine had a Charizard that he literally just found in a garage sale or something. And he said, "What do I do with it?" I said, "Well, if you want to just know, SGC is a reputable grader, and they're fast. They'll get it back to you, and you'll have a somewhat idea what it'll grade, and it's a nice case, and you keep it in or put it in your shelf, and then you can send this if you really want a PSA. take this and send it off to PSA, and they'll redo it and regrade it. But if you want an answer quickly, within a month or two, I would go SGC. But that's I like to grade just to put on the wall and have a nice display for
Got a nice
myself. So
display over
that's a
your
good way to
shoulder
go.
there.
Yeah.
And SGC is good for vintage
Definitely.
and pre-war, and we know that. So they're very reputable, and you can't go wrong with them. It's not a vintage card, but they would be a good option as well. And again, just weigh the cost of what it's going to take to get it graded versus the three major companies, with SGC being the third. And then what are you going to do with it once it gets back into your hands? That associated cost definitely has to be weighed, especially if you're looking to keep it. How much more do you want to put into that card, or just keep it raw? Because you definitely can throw that thing into a one touch and it'll preserve it. And it is in great condition considering the damage that those types of cards got when you started to separate them from the uncut sheets. So thanks, Pat. We hope if you want to, if that wasn't clear enough, hit us up again on the old Twitter, and we'll try to tag a couple of other accounts that might be able to give you a better direction. So we did have a couple shout outs real quick. One, the guy that got me involved in the hobby, my cousin David Wilson, all the way back in 1986, turns 45 today. So it's also kind of the anniversary of the day that I got into the hobby, because it was his 10th birthday party, and that started this whole mess. A show friend and somebody who's been on the show with us before, Greg Gay at Night Owl Cards, is now celebrating 13 years of blogging.
Mm-hmm.
So congrats, Greg. We really appreciate all of your contributions. And
it's essentially what got me into social media posting. But 13 years ago on the 13th at 3:00 in the morning, Night Owl Cards, Abe posted his first post. So
he's not so bad for a Dodgers fan. I mean, not everybody's perfect. But yeah, he had some really fun blogs right around the time. I think he released them right around the time that he was on our show, that kind of outlines like the best cards of the 70s, not the most expensive or the most popular, but just really fun cards with good imagery or backstories. And I think he did 50 of them or 100. I forget now. But man, that was fun to. Yeah, I think it might have been 100, and it was fun to read through. So Greg's a good writer and puts a lot of thought into what he writes. And sometimes it's the information that's just as valuable as the writing, but Greg brings them both. So, and then as I mentioned,
have a new post once every couple of days too. So prolific writer.
Yeah, and then some prayers be with you to the Crack and Wax family. I alluded to this earlier when we mentioned that they were honored at the industry summit. Unfortunately, Chris recently lost his biological father. He did mention that they didn't have a close relationship, but still breaks his heart. And so we wanted to offer our prayers and thoughts on behalf of not just Steph and I, and of course Gerald being here this evening, but all of the About the Cards family, all of our listeners and show supporters. So Chris, if you need anything, you're welcome to reach out to any of us.
You have my number.
Whether it's a phone call, a tweet, a DM, any of that stuff. So, and then once again, Bice Music, great at Carmen Fund, great cause. And, go check out Brian on Sport Lots if, especially if you're looking to add to the PC. So any final thoughts, gentlemen, as we just crossed the 2-hour mark?
I can't get anything. We covered a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great. Enjoyed it. Absolutely.
No, absolutely, Gerald. We'll have to have you on again soon. I know you said you're only good for one show because you don't have anything else.
That's all I know. I've said everything I know. So.
Yeah. So have we, but we've been doing this for over 3 years now. Right. So, but yeah, we'd love to have you on again soon. So we'll get together and discuss another time and date in the future. So remember, we're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific,
10 Central
on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. You can follow me at Our Trading Cards. You can follow Steph at Junk Wax Twins. You can follow Gerald at GNEW, NEW underscore,
Cards.
underscore cards, right, with an S.
Mhm.
Okay. You can please share your hobby stories, great pulls, and send your questions our way. Keep collecting, and we will see you next week.
Have a great week, guys.